Erased Destiny. Chapter 14. Hiding. The old Hume's house, one of the few completely wooden structures, with an unusual storied balcony and flowers growing on the walls. Merigold hopped from rooftop to avoid encountering drunks roaming the streets at this hour. She colored her eyes gold. The quiet, calm, clear night, interrupted only by bawdy songs wailing from somewhere below, put her in a rather melancholy mood, not for conducting a difficult investigation. Lack of fur hurt her a lot, so as the first thing in the morning Merigold planned to return home to take all her winter clothes. The only warm thing she had on her while jumping from one roof to another was the shoes taken from the crypt. They helped greatly in night's traverse, as they stick to any surface they touched. After further consideration, Merigold was glad that Etienne took the shoes from the tomb. Etienne felt rather than heard movement on the roof to her left. The mistress of the Crystal Palace's sensitive senses picked up incongruous shadows, even in an alien body. The poison ivy scent in that direction caught nothing.
Death mage, if I'm not mistaken.
Palace seekers, clever as usual. Didn't you like the quarters?
Apparently, you know more about the fugitive than the mayor and the guards guarding him were able to tell.
Much more than anyone would want to know. A disgusting creature. In the palace, I would have hung him, and here they wanted to play with the courts. Shall we discuss the mission over a bottle of wine?
The scouts dispersed their camouflage. Young guys, each 25 years old. One slightly more serious, probably the squad leader, took the burden of talking to the amused mage.
The basement is quite well stocked, for an abandoned house, of course. You could have waited to take a bath because the rooms haven't been cleaned by anyone in a long time.
When did Jared escape? In what way? Have you found anything?
It's a shame to talk. Let's hope at least your information is worth something.
6 people jumped from rooftop to rooftop, from balcony to tree, from tree to railing, and none of the people passing below noticed or heard anything. The sight of an overturned closet and broken chairs in the room assigned to the seekers somewhat surprised Etienne. She did not let it show. She tried not to show any emotion, but she was not quite in control of her facial expressions. Not as Merigold. In order not to think about the conversation ahead of her, not to look at the bottle-throwing boys, not to comment on the bonfire lit inside the building, and finally not to look at the images she found in Jared's memories, Merigold busied herself with wowing the hammock with poison ivy. She hooked the chutes to old chandeliers, hoping they wouldn't collapse under her weight.
A play of light, a light mist, a ray of sunlight, and the shadow of trees. The creation of an illusion. This is what Jared looks like. He is helped by someone magical. Someone who makes it impossible to locate magically. And this is his hideout. I don't know where it is located.
Better and better. I would add that between Jared's escape and our arrival, a whole month passed. Maybe 2. Allegedly, no one realized that someone else was sitting in the cell. The escape itself also leaves more questions than answers.
Let me guess. No fighting, no dead corpses. Puff, and there's someone else sitting in the cell.
Not that simple. He was locked in a cell that was connected to a tunnel that led to Jared's house. I checked his criminal record, and this wasn't his first imprisonment. What is interesting, he was always kept in the same cell. I think Guards Chief is involved in Jared's escape, but I found nothing on him.
Etienne covered herself with a bottle of wine so the seekers wouldn't notice the expression on her face. Even if she would have killed Jared in the first minute of the clash, palace spies already suspected the complicity of someone from Cyntra. Perhaps even Uriel himself.
Jared is addicted to gambling. He loses huge sums of money at cards. To pay them off, he kidnaps the children of local rich people and demands ransom. For years he has been operating in the Cyntra area, and no one has managed to link him to the crimes.
A clever guy or well-connected. Does he have a family?
As far as I know, no.
In order not to betray her lie, for the purposes of this conversation, Etienne considered a wife and children as the family. She chose her words carefully, but in such a way that the seekers would not feel her unease. She didn't feel comfortable covering for Uriel, but investigating him, much easier and more pleasant, would draw the seekers away from the psychopath who was murdering people.
His record has disappeared from the archives. Interesting coincidence, right? Especially since the house still belongs to him. The auction has not taken place, although the deadline has long passed. Supposedly, they are supposed to prune the house first, but we haven't seen any rats.
The four boys spread out comfortably on their coats and played cards, sipping whatever they could from dusty bottles while their commander tried to find any lead. Etienne replayed Jared's memories in her mind, but saw nothing helpful there.
The corpses of his victims Jared hid just outside the city walls, as a warning to the parents of the next children kidnapped. The memories of these murdered children do not match. The only thing they have in common is death. They thought they were going home, saw the city walls, and suddenly they were hit in the head with something heavy.
And the survivors? Do they have something in common? Do they remember where they were held?
I haven't talked to them. I'm afraid that Jared didn't directly participate in those kidnaps. He was not present in memories of the victims. He usually uses services of thugs for hire.
Why didn't the Cyntrians report the disappearances to us?
This was a question Etienne could not answer. Why did the parents of the slain children remain silent?
How could I possibly know that? I don't even live here. What did the mayor tell you?
About recent events. The guy is getting revenge, but in a stupid way. In the middle of the day, his men shoot women at the market. Someone kidnaps a washerwoman. Her body was found by the river. Grandpa didn't come home. Someone throwed him tied up in a well.
Jared tries to get attention. Extort a ransom for the whole city. The previous time I captured him was during an attempt to kidnap Ume, the mayor's daughter. Some time ago, I was teaching her magic, preparing her for exams. I felt his intentions and acted first.
Oh, did Jared got personally involved in this kidnapping? Interesting. Either he knew the girl and hoped for a quiet action, or this kidnapping was particularly important to him. I felt that Yumi and Uriel were not telling us everything. Anyone willing to pay them a visit?
Merigold immediately regretted mentioning and not coming up with an alternative story of meeting Jared. She thought that just this part Uriel would tell truthfully, but did the mayor ever tell the truth? Two seekers came forward. The commander nodded and went back to questioning Merigold. Although she was not accused or even suspected of anything, the girl felt complicit in the unfolding tragedy in Cyntra. She did not kill Jared outright. She led him to Uriel. In a sense, she was responsible for Jared living and murdering. She sighed. She closed her eyes. She couldn't find her place in the situation that had put her in. Etienne needed some time to think as well. She assumed that the seekers would be more effective. What could she do without their help?
I'm afraid Jared has an informant in the city, maybe someone close to the mayor, because since our arrival nothing bad happened in the city. What else besides gambling did he do?
I was interested in the crimes he committed, not his daily life. Affairs were usually handled by him in a tavern or some tunnel, commissioning local thugs to do this or that. In addition to kidnappings, there were thefts, murders posed as accidents, intimidation, and extortion.
The head of a local criminal group. Such ones are the hardest to catch. We checked the inn. No one had seen Jared there for a long time, or did not want to see. Tunnels, you say? Uriel gave us a map, but nothing there matches.
The seeker took a small sheet of paper from his pocket. It showed 3 branches starting in and adjacent to the city hall, leading outside the walls of Cyntra.
As intended by the creator, the tunnels were to be used to evacuate city residents in case of fire. The shortest one begins here, at the old mayor's house. Today, there are many more tunnels. People used this way to enlarge basements, criminals hid, beggars sought shelter. No one pays attention to anyone. Footsteps trampled.
I bet it is through these tunnels that Jared gets into the city. Have you checked the exits? The ones outside the city?
She pointed with her finger at the hiding lines.
Yes, and we found nothing. The investigation is stuck. That's why we insisted on meeting you. You said Jared cannot be located magically. What did you mean by that?
He uses a barrier of some sort. I can't teleport to him or magically abduct him. I cannot use mind magic to find his mind. If you had limited the search area, I would have found him at once. As a phantom.
If we had limited the search area, we wouldn't have involved you. Holy shit. We won't be finished by spring. No good lead. Please think once more. Is there anything else we could use?
Etienne imagined Nathan or Fidelis or Sonja in place of young and helpless seeker that demanded from her doing his job. What would they do? Fidelis was very sensitive to lies, so he would question Uriel even more and find out the truth. That was something Etienne couldn't suggest to the seekers. Sonja used mind magic, so she would discover Uriel-Jared connection even faster than Fidelis. And Nathan? He was the most patient and the less magical of all her helpers. Nathan would analyze all the tracks, check all the tunnels, observe Uriel and his family till he found something useful. But those lazy youngsters wanted to play cards and drink wine only. This time, Etienne, in addition to performing all magical tasks, had to do the seeker's job as well. How could her very limited magic help in this situation? She thought about every possible use of her spells.
There is one way to locate Jared. I can give you a direction, but not the distance, because as death, I don't feel it at all. And if you provide me some personal belongings of Jared, I could try a name curse. It should allow us to track him.
Finally, some good news. We will organize something of Jared's possessions. How often can you transform into death?
That was something that Etienne didn't know. As an adept, she couldn't change her form at all. Later on, she did it few times only. As an undead, she again couldn't transform herself. In Merigold's body, it looked somehow easier, more natural, but still very tiring.
It depends. Our transformation is very difficult and exhausting. I think once a day, maybe twice. After the transformation, I can't see objects, so I can't tell if Jared is sitting in a house or in a clearing. But I can tell how many people surround him or if there are animals around.
And couldn't you end his life?
Even without that, our transformation is considered the most powerful and dangerous.
Merigold closed her eyes. Before the seekers moved away from her, she changed her form. It became as natural as breathing for her, like summoning the spirit of the unfaithful wife. Etienne assumed that it was this blessing death told her about.
It looked pretty easy. How long can you stay in this form?
The closer someone gets to an elemental spirit, the faster they transform. I can spend up to 15 minutes as a spiritual being. Jared, he enjoys good health surprisingly.
Did you find him?
There, lower than we are. Outside the city. Further than 2 hours on horseback. Surrounded by people, at least 20. There are many more people in the area. There will be more than 50. However, it is not a town or village. More of a mine. People are staying at different heights. Animals in the immediate vicinity are absent.
Instead of returning to human form, Etienne watched the memories of the seekers. They didn't come across a trail connecting Uriel and Jared. Instead, They spent a lot of time drinking, playing cards, and groping their female colleagues.
Great. A mine. In that direction. Thank you for your help.
Yes, I will go now.
The specter flew out through the wall.
How many people do you think will die of a heart attack today?
Hopefully, less than Jared murdered. Strange woman. Rubens, check the mine.
Etienne flew above the city. It had been a long time since she had felt so free, so peaceful, so fulfilled. She finally felt like herself. There was only one thing missing.
Nathan, where are you?
Although she used Death's senses, she was unable to locate her beloved. It was as if this one was dead. But he wasn't on the other side either. She landed on the roof of some building to return to her body. The more often she transformed, the less it bothered her.
What happened to you? Did you disappear? Did you end up in the void? Let's hope not. But that's what you wanted. That's what you said. To not feel anything. To remember nothing. Are you, like me, stuck in a body too small for you? Why aren't you looking for me, Nathan?
The whispering turned into crying. Memories floated away, but the feeling of emptiness and loss remained. Merigold sobbed on the roof of someone's house, and nothing could stop the stream of tears soaking her robe. Nothing but the recovery of her beloved.